All right, back on the Young Turks. Now we have an incredible interview for you guys. It's with Karen Palmer. She's written the book Spellbound, Inside West Africa's Witch Camps. And it's literal. There are literally camps of what they consider witches. And she joins us now. Karen, welcome to the Young Turks.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for being with us. So tell us about this concept overall. First of all, a lot of people might not be aware of the fact that in certain parts of Africa, West Africa, that there's the concept of a witch. What is a witch?
Well, typically what I ran into were women who tended to be elderly, and something had happened in their lives or in the lives of their family that had led to them being accused of practicing witchcraft. When I first started looking into this, the women I interviewed initially sort of said to me, we really don't know why we've been accused. We now have to live in these camps. We really don't know what happened. Our families got tired of us, and now we're here. And then when I went back up to do the book research, I ran into women who told me things like, I was scared for my family, so I went and I bought witchcraft. I spoke with a woman who said, yes, I've done exactly what they accused me of doing. I was actually trying to kill this girl. And I met a third woman who basically said, I would do anything to be rid of my witchcraft. Whatever you can do to help me, please help me.
See, that's fascinating because it's not just the people who accuse the witches of being witches. Some of the so-called witches actually believe they are witches.
Yeah, I have to admit, I went up there thinking I would write this very black and white sort of book, that these women were being abused, and it was all about sort of their rights and that sort of thing. And hearing those kind of stories really threw me for a loop. And suddenly it was about sort of, why is this belief so strong and so pervasive? A lot of the villages that I went to in northern Ghana really do still have a very strong and very, present belief in witchcraft. And I really wanted to sort of investigate how can we live in an internet age in the West and yet still see pockets of Africa that have such a strong belief.
But, the flip side of that, Karen, is that I'm not that surprised. In the sense that, look at here what's happening in the U.S. Some people think that people are possessed by either the demons or Satan, and some of those people actually believe it, and they think, oh, my God, I was demon-possessed. So,
yeah, I think the thing is that with witchcraft in Africa anyway is sometimes I think it has to do with how stressful lives are, and we look for reasons, and when we can't find anything that makes sense to us, we look for other reasons. And, we might say, well, this person's possessed by Satan. That might be a reason for mental illness or whatever else. With witchcraft, it's really sort of, I'm trying the best I can to get ahead here, and I am not getting ahead. There must be something that's blocking me, and when we can't see anything physical, maybe we look for something spiritual.
So, and when they look for answers to things that they cannot understand, of course, that's a great opportunity for religion and for scam artists, right?
For sure.
So now scam artists step in. These are literally called witch doctors, right? Tell us about how they claim they ferret out witches.
Well, I guess I need to make clear that, I have to say when I went up, I really did not believe in witchcraft whatsoever. And the longer I spent in this particular community, the grayer it became for me. So I don't want to make it so black and white where I'm sort of saying I absolutely do not believe that witchcraft can happen. I actually, there's something there. I'll say that much. I had a couple experiences where I went to these guys who I would consider to be diviners, and what they do is read sort of spiritual objects, cowrie shells, nuts and bolts, and other objects that have spiritual significance for them, and they can predict your future. A witch doctor is something a little bit different. He might actually, go into the spiritual realm and do battle with witches, or he may simply be someone who has a sort of traditional knowledge about healing and acts as sort of a traditional doctor.
Karen,
did I throw you for a loop there? Sorry.
Yeah, no. I got to be honest with you, totally and utterly not buying it. Okay. Now, here's what I mean by that. Is there a spiritual realm? I don't pretend to know the answers to that. I'm not a witch doctor. Okay. So I'm not. But are they doing battles with witches? That I know. They're not. Okay. That's crazy. It's Looney Tunes. They're making that stuff up, but I'm not, and I'm not being culturally, biased against them. We have our own lunatics here. Have you ever seen Pentecostals? Okay, blah, 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 speaking in tongues and stuff. I know that they earnestly believe that. They think that really somebody is speaking through them, but it's because it's a psychological condition. So, I mean, you can't have a real conversation about whether they're doing battles with witches and if witchcraft is real, can you?
Well, I mean, I guess the thing that I kept coming back to is it actually doesn't really matter what I believe. You know, people see this as a very real presence in their life, and the more they see it, the more it impacts them. That's sort of what I mean. You know, if you choose to see witchcraft, or if you feel, you know, this can happen to you, that this is possible, the more likely you are to actually see it happen in your life. You know, when I was up there, I just had a few. For one thing, I kept hearing the stories over and over and over again, the same kind of stories, the same kind of, you know, I was in a rocky landscape. This was sort of the spiritual realm. You know, I had a few experiences with people telling me stories about being victims of witchcraft. And, you know, at the end of the day, it was sort of one of those, I don't know, maybe. I mean, things happen, coincidences happen, you know, miracles happen. Who knows?
No, they don't. Okay. I mean, things might happen, and there might be other explanations. Again, I don't claim to know that. But, you mean, some of the things that they describe here is they think the witches, turn into fireballs at night or something?
That's right.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. Okay, that just doesn't happen, okay? And then they can tell if somebody's a witch by cutting a chicken or a hen's neck, and then whichever way it dies, then you know it's a witch?
That's right. That's sort of a traditional ceremony that goes on when a woman's been accused. Is a chicken is killed, its throat is split, the chief throws it up in the air, and depending on how it dies, that determines the woman's guilt or innocence.
Right. Except it doesn't. That's for lunatics. Okay. Now, and then let me take that back. It's not for lunatics. It's a cultural thing, and it's what's fascinating about it is the social psychology behind it. Right. That whole community, and communities have done this in Europe, in America, and here, the Salem witch trials, et cetera. It's been all over the place. Christians have done it. Other cultures have done it. But the whole society convinces itself that people become fireballs at night, and depending on how a chicken dies, you can tell whether they're a fireball or not. That's amazing.
True. It's true. I mean, that's that whole thing of when you want to see it, and if you can convince yourself that this is really happening to you, you will see more and more instances of it.
All right, I want to focus on two other quick things here because, again, it's part of the fascinating phenomenon here. And we're talking to Karen Palmer. She wrote the book Spellbound, Inside West Africa's Witch Camps. So one is that once you get the witch doctors coming in, well, then they have a financial incentive to find more witches, don't they?
It's true. I mean, when I was up there, up in these camps, I mean, I had a real problem with the chief who actually runs the Gambaga camp where I lived. I mean, he's not only the judge and jury, he's also the guy who lets you go, and so he sets a fee for everything that he does, and it's really in his best interest for you to be declared a witch. I mean, these are people who live on so little money. You can't really comprehend how hard it is to live up there and how little money they have and how little, you know, how little the safety net they have, and here's a chief who can actually charge, you know, $50, $75, $100 for a woman to be released. A lot of these families don't spend that much in a year.
See, once you've got people making money off a certain thing, right, whether it's politics in this country, whether it's the Wall Street robbery that's going on in this country, or whether it's the witch doctors in Ghana, they're going to want to perpetuate that system, and they're going to be against change, and they're going to fight for that system as long as they keep making $75 for their procedure. Okay.
Most definitely. And I think that's the thing at the end of the day, what I came back to is, you know, belief or not belief, you know, whether you think it's real or you don't think it's real, it's having such an amazing impact on these villages. I mean, they literally cannot get ahead. And I think we sort of need to be able to deal with the cultural context. That we need to actually deal with the fact that people think this is real. We need to actually, you know, find a way for them to find some comfort before we, you know, keep pressing ahead, full steam ahead, because what you're finding is the people who are benefiting from this just keep benefiting. So we need to sort of put the brakes on it and figure out a way to sort of eradicate some of the things that witchcraft takes the blame for. So, you know, malaria and malaria dreams and kids dying from bad water, you know, those are things we can actually improve, which would help bring down the incidence of people getting accused of practicing witchcraft.
And Karen, finally, you know, there's another very disturbing part of this. Now, of course, you're writing about the witch camps, and so the camps are, of course, composed of women who've been driven from all the different villages into this one area that's kind of a safety zone for them. Of course, the conditions there are less than ideal to say the least, although conditions throughout Ghana are less than ideal, as you describe in the book. But talk to me about the women who are driven there, the ones who are financially successful or strong-minded or what they call tall poppies. Why are they targeted more?
Well, I mean, I met one woman who I would consider to be, an NGO's dream. She's the kind of woman that a lot of charities would hold up as a real example. She was a really successful businesswoman who just kept opening business after business after business. So she rented rooms, she collected mangoes, she sold firewood, and she sold rice. And she also offered loans. And when she came calling for the loans to be repaid, someone accused her of causing a meningitis outbreak. And this is sort of the problem, is that you have people who are real innovators who try to do things differently. And the further they get ahead, the sort of, the more suspicious that is. Why are they able to think that way? Why are they able to have such good fortune? And in this woman's case, she had no husband, no sons, and it was very easy for the village to sort of turn on her, and she ended up, being sent packing with absolutely nothing. She's, been in the witch camps twice, and shortly after I left, she was sent home, and she subsequently died there.
No, it's such a heartbreaking story because they take the smartest, most successful women and they throw them in these witch camps. And what it does is not only is that horrible in and of itself, but it perpetuates a cycle then where, you get rid of all the successful women. And we know through a lot of NGO work and development work that women help to improve a society. Like the more successful women are, the more successful society is.
Definitely.
And so then that keeps all of society down and in this vicious cycle. And based on this, honestly, of course, what I think is at the heart of it is to keep women down. They don't want them to have that power.
Well, it's certainly, there's definitely a dynamic there, and it's certainly the vulnerable women. It's certainly, women who don't have protection. And, that's, I think, what's so sad about it is that these women can be real leaders. They can be real contributors in their communities, and instead they're sort of fading away in these witch camps. It really is quite sad.
All right. The book is called Spellbound, Inside West Africa's Witch Camps. Obviously a fascinating read. Karen Palmer, who's certainly more open-minded about it than I am, but had a very open-minded look at it and an interesting look. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Young Turks.